Hello, BookTube. Okay, this is take number 37 for this video. That is wildly unprecedented on this channel. That is 2 or 3 times as many. I don't do it. Ordinarily, if a video simply isn't working, if I keep having to stop and start again, I stop. Not only that video, but any videos for that day. That's enough of that. I've got plenty of parts of my life that don't actively resist me. This is actively resisting me. It doesn't want to happen, so it won't. Frida, come here. Come up here. There you go. She jumped up right away when I did that instead of giving me a Jesuitical argument in court because she senses better than anybody how angry I am. I am going to do this video, and absolutely nothing is going to stop me. I'm going to keep doing this, take after take after take after take, until it happens. And the irony is that it's nothing. It's not an important video at all. It's not complicated in any way. It's just, it doesn't want to happen. You may hear barking in the background. That's something that I absolutely can't control, and it was at one point angering me. And then I realized, no, that doesn't anger you. That's Boris. If you can hear him in the background, he goes to his little park, and when he's excited, he barks at everything. He barks at Frida when she's there. He barks at everything. He's this big, gigantic, goofy dog, and I like that sound. I have to remind myself that I like that sound. This video that I've tried now almost 40 times to make this video is just to show you some new arrivals here. About a fifth of the new arrivals that I've got here. I miss doing mail hauls. I need to think about how to do mail hauls, how to figure them out. The simplest solution to mail hauls, to avoid just going on a long rant against bigotry or sexism or man bashing or whatever for 40 minutes and then not being able to upload it, the simplest solution to that is the one that all of you have pointed out, which is the self-control that I always urge on this channel. If I encounter a book and I quickly start to realize that it is part of the sheer organized social lunacy of the 21st century, I can just stop, fold the pub sheet, look at you, say food for thought, and move right on. I do not need to rant. I do not need to pay it any more attention. That is the simplest solution. It doesn't seem to be working in 2023, but another solution would be a little more artificial, would be for me to carefully curate, kind of what I'm doing now, the new arrivals that come here. I recognize the loss there. There's a serendipity that's lost. There's a kind of charm to us encountering the same book at the same moment, which only happens if I open the package on camera. Even if I try not to look at these things, I'm still going to get a snap impression of what they are. So a kind of stopgap measure that's not entirely pleasing to me or you would be to curate the new arrivals that I get. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know what kind of a decision I'll make on that. I guess on some level, the back of my mind, I keep hoping that this fever will break and that books will stop with this strident fascist virtue signaling, and I won't need to worry about it in pub sheets anymore. I kind of hope that, I keep hoping that fever will break, and that I won't get mainstream publications from mainstream publishers, from the big 5 in America, that start off by saying, "Hey, you're the person who's reading this. You're probably white, right? So you're a racist. So this book ought to appeal to you." I'm kind of hoping that fever will break. It doesn't show any signs of breaking, but I'm kind of hoping that it will. Until then, I'm going to have to come up with some sort of approach to this. The food for thought approach is the best one, but we shall see. In the meantime, I just have some opened packages. I haven't really examined these things, so some of the charm is still there. Will be examined. I haven't looked at any of them, so some of the charm will still be there. I think. I hope. Anyway. It's a beautiful, as you can see, a beautiful, windy, lovely day here. We had rain all day yesterday. Not in batches. Literally, it poured rain all day yesterday. From before dawn until after nightfall. All day, just rain steadily coming down. It was a classic summer rain. It was falling straight down. I had all the windows open the whole time. But it was miserable for Frida. Just miserable for my little schnauzer. She hates the rain, just hates it. She doesn't like to go out in it even for a minute, even to do her business. And that was all I was asking. I wasn't asking her to walk around with me. So as a result, she does it. She's smart enough to recognize that even though she doesn't like it, she should do it. I've told her many, many times, you can go in the house. You're tiny. The damage would be minimal. But she hates that idea even more than she hates going in the rain. So we did go out 2 or 3 times, but not for walks. And Frida is a normal dog. And normal dogs, the normal healthy dogs, require movement in order to empty the tanks. They're not like humans. They're not just going to a room and emptying the tanks. Then they require movement. They instinctively keep some in reserve. And also they need to walk a little before they'll poop. And Frida is a normal, healthy dog. So she did a tiny amount of peeing yesterday, but she didn't do any pooping. And the whole day. And that was just, it started to get on her mind. It started to be unavoidable. And then the rain swept out. Late last night, middle of the night, the rain swept out. And I woke her up and we went out so that she could sleep the rest of the night in peace. And the day is wonderful. It has swept out, that rain swept out any humidity. It swept out any heat. It's just beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. It's not going to last, unfortunately. If we were to do Blob Watch, I have a strong suspicion that the forecasters are correct and that a gigantic mass of rain is coming to New England. Gigantic. We're talking days of rain instead of just one day of rain. I don't know how that's going to work for the little bean, but it's beautiful. We're going to spend a lot of time rambling around outside. But I want to show you some new arrivals. Not only because we're missing out on that element of this channel, but also because I'm not going to do anything for anyone, to anyone, for myself, in any way. I am not leaving this couch until I finish this video. So let's just go through here. It's just 5 items, and then we'll be done. Now, the last, I think, 15 takes of this, I didn't even get to the items. No, it's more than that. It was like 21 takes that I didn't even get to the items. So I'm already ahead of the game. I've had 2 drag races, and you can hear Boris barking, but that's it. So far, no explosions, nobody knocking on the door, nobody screaming for help on the sidewalk. No, nothing like that. No catastrophes at all. So we're at the items. That's great. So the first item is not a book. It's a publication. I guess I must be on their mailing list. I'm going to have to check, examine my inbox and see if maybe in a spam filter or something, I am getting correspondence about this and don't know about it. Because I'd like to know about it. I'd like to be involved in at least email with the people involved in this. This is Tales of the Unreal, number 2. I believe I got number 1. And this is supernatural stories, that sort of thing. Very professionally done, a square-bound thing. This is, are you going to tell me? This is number 2. It does not have a price anywhere on it. This is the September 2023 issue with full, here, let me show you, full table of contents. Lots and lots of stuff in here. I went through the table of contents to wonder if maybe somebody connected with this is somebody I know from BookTube, but I'm not seeing any connection. Very happy to be getting it, though. Really well done. I'm going to gobble this down today. Then we have something from November. This is a November release. This is by David Runciman, and it is called The Handover. Very ominous title. How We Gave Control of Our Lives to Corporations, States, and AIs. From the great folks at Liverite. Countless news reports and opinion pieces in recent months have announced that we should view the uncanny abilities of ChatGPT and other large language models as evidence that artificial intelligence has finally arrived and that the world has been forever changed. That is the change in the popular press, right? Popular press has suddenly this is everywhere. Suddenly everybody knows what ChatGPT is. They've heard of it. Whereas before that really broke into the public zeitgeist, I don't think 1 in 3 people had any conception of what AI even meant. But according to political philosopher David Runciman, this isn't the real story. We've been living with AI for 300 years. So if he was a politician or a political analyst, then the description of this book, which is probably approved by the author, would have taken a different route. But since he's a political philosopher, since he's involved with philosophy in any way, the next claim, the very next claim, will be absolute nonsense. We have not been involved with AI for 300 years. But anyway, because states and corporations are robots too, they demonstrably are not. That is simply the philosophy game of saying language is anything I say it is. So philosophy is getting up at night to have a drink of water. Philosophy is a candied apple at the carnival. Philosophy is a roller coaster ride. States and corporations are not AI. They are not robots. Anyway, in this mind-bending work, Runciman explains our current situation through the history of the artificial agents we created to rescue us from all too human limitations. From the United States and the United Kingdom to the East India Company, Standard Oil, Facebook, and Alibaba, states and corporations have gradually and then much more rapidly taken over the planet. They have helped to conquer poverty and eliminate disease, but also unleashed global wars and environmental degradation. As the author argues, it is not our relationship with AI that will determine the future. Rather, humanity's fate will be shaped by the interactions among states, corporations, and thinking machines. Okay, so in November, I will grapple with this thing. I will win, but still, it'll be fun. Then we have something from next year. This is coming out in January, so I can tell you all about it, but I won't be dealing with it at all. This is Goodbye Girl by James Grippando, the thriller writer James Grippando. This is a Jack Switek novel. Once again, I will issue my call for a moratorium on all titles that are cliches or references to some idiomatic expression. Goodbye Girl is such a thing. It should not be your title. Your book has a title. You do not need a cliche. Somewhere in the first chapter of this book, or at least the first 5 chapters, is the title of this book. There is no reason for you to give it a cliche for a title. But anyway, let's see here. Piracy costs the movies and music industries billions. No one has been able to stop it. But that won't stop Miami criminal defense lawyer Jack Switek. His latest client, Imani Nichols, is a Grammy-winning pop star whose career has skyrocketed. Despite her success, she's the most underpaid superstar on the planet because of an onerous record contract she signed as a teenager with her now ex-husband, Shaky Nichols, who has made himself rich off her royalties. Preferring to see thieves profit from her music rather than let her ex-husband pocket one more dime, Imani takes to social media and tells her millions of fans to go pirate and download her music illegally. Her hardball tactics lead to scorched earth litigation, and now she needs Jack's help. So on the one hand, that is a fascinating premise. That's the good part. And the bad news is the hero is a lawyer. And lawyers are scum of the earth. So willing suspension of disbelief is going to be necessary on all sides there. Then we'll move to... this is a book that's out already. I think this came out early in September, and believe it or not, we are heading to being late in September. This is by Edward Cahill, and it's called Disorderly Men. And it's about the gays. You got to give something to the gays. I don't have a sheet for this thing, but let's read about it like you were in a bookstore, because you could find this in the bookstore. This is ESE. What on earth is Empire State Editions? Okay, but that's going to be a university press. This doesn't have a price on it. Doesn't have a price on it, so it's a university press. I don't know which university, but they're the ones who are coy about their prices. So let's see here. 3 gay men in pre-Stonewall New York City find their fates thrown together in a police raid of a village bar. That is Greenwich Village. Let's see here. Roger Morehouse is a Wall Street banker and Westchester family man with a preciously guarded secret. As the shooting begins and the flashlights blaze in his face, the life he's carefully curated over the years, a fancy new office overlooking Lower Broadway, a house in Beachmont Woods, his wife and children, is about to come crashing down around him. Columbia literature professor Julian Prince lives a comparatively uncloseted life when he finds his first committed relationship tested to its limits. How could he explain to Gus, a fearless young artist, that he couldn't stay with him that weekend because the woman who was still technically Julian's fiancée would be visiting? But when Gus is struck unconscious by a police baton, Julian comes out of hiding to protect him, even if exposure means losing everything. And for Danny Duffy, an Irish kid from the Bronx with a sassy mouth and a diverse group of friends, the raid is galvanizing. Spartacus moment. Danny doesn't have too much left to lose. His family's just disowned him. But once his name appears in the newspaper, he'll be fired from his job at Sloan's supermarket, where he's risen to assistant manager of produce, and begin a journey that veers between political enlightenment and violent revenge. The 3 men find themselves in a police wagon together. Their hidden lives threaten to be revealed to the world. Blackmail, a private investigator, Gus's disappearance, and Danny's quest for retribution propel the book to its piercing conclusion as each man meets the boundaries of his own fear, love, and shame. So this has a cover blurb by Caleb Crane, which makes me worry that Garth Greenwell is having some sort of health problem, because isn't it law that if you have a novel for the gays and it's got the requisite black and white cover photo, isn't it law that you have to have a blurb by Garth Greenwell? What's going on here? Caleb Crane, Amber Dermott, Benjamin Nugent, Michael Bronski, Ben Neihart, David Levitt? What's going on here? Edward, did you offend Garth Greenwell? He's professor of English at Fordham University. Maybe it's Fordham University that made this thing. It's got to be a university press because it doesn't have a price on it. He's the author of Liberty of the Imagination, Aesthetic Theory, Literature, Literary Form, and Politics in the Early United States. Okay, so he's the author of his dissertation. And this is his first novel. Okay, so a big litmus test here will be determining whether or not he has any skill as a writer of fiction. Okay, well, there you go. So this is a new gay novel. It's out now in September. I'm alarmed. Garth Greenwell, you can't get a book published, a gay book published, without it being approved of by him. This, I don't know, is it not approved by him? Or did he maybe have COVID when this was going into its galleys? I don't know. Kind of weird. And then we'll finish up with this thing. This is right up my alley. This is... what's the matter, baby? We're almost at the end. There's nothing that's going to stop me from doing this. No way. No way. We are going to go on such a long walk. I'm going to walk the frustration away. That's what I'm going to do. And there's no 97% humidity, so the walk's not going to kill us. This is by Walter Stevens, and this is How Writing Made Us Human, 3000 BCE to Now. Big, fat book from Hopkins University Press. BCE, meaning, for those of you who are not being coerced by the fascists in your workplace, means BC. BCE stands for Before the Common Era. When did the Common Era start? What's the reckoning? You're using BCE. It's before the Common Era. What's the Common Era? You're all using the same reckoning. We're all using the same reckoning. We're not saying the Common Era started with Gutenberg or with Shakespeare or with Freud. No. Oh, then what are we? What's the? Oh, it's Jesus. Oh, okay. So the BC era, before Christ, that could still work. It's just we don't want to call it that. And if you don't call it, if you call it something BC, we're going to change it in your manuscript. And if you say that you want to continue calling it BC because changing it to BCE is a distinction without a difference, and you're not going to be coerced in your language just because of fads or Twitter, you will be told to change it. And you will say, well, I don't know what that means. I'm a credentialed professional and I have a contract with you, and then you will read paragraph 15 subset A of that contract that says your contract can be voided if you don't bend the knee. You will object, and if you object too much, even if you are eventually forced to change the usage of just this little thing, just BC to BCE. We're not talking about homeless to unhoused or birthing person from pregnant mother. We're not talking about any of that. We're just talking this. BC to BC. They mean the exact same thing. They have to mean the exact same thing. We need a common reference point. And that is the common reference point. And using BC as a reference point for your time, or AD as a reference point for your time, does not mean you are a Christo-fascist trying to kill gay people. Okay? That is not what that means. And if someone tells you that that's what they think it means, and that that's what they think of you if you use it, that person is a fascist. If you insist, if you say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to go through and change all this, even though it's a quick computer replace, I'm not going to do it. It's a distinction without a difference. It's meaningless. It's your preference over mine. It means the same thing, so I'm going to leave it. You'll not only have your book contract canceled, you'll have your house firebombed. You will find that you cannot get work anywhere in the Western world. But anyway, that's what the title means. That's what BCE means. It means BC, before Christ. Just like AD means Anno Domini, in the year of our Lord. That does not make you a Christo-fascist. That does not make you a Christian. It is a common usage. It is a common usage. But anyway, I think this does have a sheet to get me out of trouble here. This is a big, long history of writing. And I love that idea, regardless of the silly fad, the fascist fad on the cover. Let's see here. Let's pull away from that. This comes out in the 10th of October. So this is coming out soon. Definitely put this on your list if this is a subject that interests you. I have a whole bunch of books on this subject. It never fails to interest me. Let's see here. In this book, I'm not going to repeat the title because that might repeat the rant. The author condenses the massive history of the written word into an accessible, engaging narrative. The history of writing is not merely a record of technical innovations, from hieroglyphics to computers, but something far richer, a chronicle of emotional engagement with written culture whose long arc intimates why the humanities are crucial to society. Well, I don't know about that second part, but the first part is definitely true. Wonderfully refreshing to read, too. that the author recognizes that writing is not, the history of writing is not just a question of, vellum to paper or updates in pen technology. It's a change in the relationship. That is very true. It's a change in the relationship between us and the written world. Let's see here. For 5 millennia, myths and legends provided fascinating explanations of the origins and uses of writing. These stories overflowed with enthusiasm and fabled personalities, both human and divine, and their adventures with capturing speech and preserving memory. Stories recounted how and why ancient Sumerian king, a contemporary of Gilgamesh, invented the cuneiform writing system, or alternately, how the earliest Mesopotamians learned everything from a hybrid man-fish. Okay, oh my god, all right, you're going on about Moses and the Ten Commandments. Okay, well, what about the history of writing, though? And keep in mind, I know this is 2023, so I have to say it, that Mesopotamian myth about man-fish did not happen. You are not being bigoted against, indigenous beliefs to say that obvious mythology did not happen. You can't entertain it as history. So I'm really hoping. Anyway, I'm not going to make trouble here. Let's see here. Can we get to the end of the mythology? Throughout history, some myths of writing were literary fictions. Plato's tale of Atlantis supposedly emerged from a vast Egyptian archive of the world history. Dante's vision of God as one infinite book inspired Borges' fantasy of the cosmos as a limited library, while the 19th century bequeathed Mary Shelley's apocalyptic tale of a world left with innumerable books and only one surviving reader. Okay, all right, a lot wrong there. Maybe the author didn't have anything to do with this. Let's see. The author presents a comprehensive history of the written word and demonstrates how writing has preserved and shaped human life since the Bronze Age. Okay, great. And the author is professor of Italian Studies Emeritus at Johns Hopkins University. Are you sneezing, baby bee? Okay, so this has blurbs from Andrew Robinson, who wrote a really good book on this subject, and also Ross King, who wrote The Bookseller of Florence, that is really good. There's the author. Can any of you see the significance of where he is posed? Any of you know that figure in the history of writing? Great. Fantastic. Okay, so these are the end papers. You've got not every brand new book goes to the bother of giving you nice end papers. I'm asking for trouble here because I'm drifting to the table of contents. I won't go any further than that. But okay, the mystique of writing as technology, pagan antiquity, holy writ, writing in the Middle Ages towards modernity. Okay, I'm not gonna ask for trouble. I'm really hoping that those myths are presented as myths. You would think that I wouldn't have to worry about it, but I've read in the last couple of months 2 or 3 books. One very disturbingly on medical science that presented obvious nonsense without calling it obvious nonsense, without saying this. There is absolutely no credibility to this view of how this works, including a modern novel that will be nameless, in which a character not only believes in the 4 humors, but insists on being treated that way at a hospital, and the narrative thinks that is correct. At no point in the narrative does anyone say the 4 humors are false. That is an exploded, ridiculous view of the world. I'm just waiting. I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm imputing it all to this poor book, which I'm sure I'm going to like. I'm just waiting for a novel or a history of the world that entertains but does not dismiss the idea that the world is flat, that it's a flat disk. Because some people believe it. Or the ancients with a capital A believed it. I'm just waiting until I get to that. And then what happens? If it comes out from a major press, and then what happens? The novel that I'm talking about came out from a major press. And I read, it got 2 or 3 major reviews. High-profile reviews. No reviewer said, oh, and by the way, the novel's tacit endorsement of this ridiculous, antiquated superstition of how the human body works is dangerous. This is a totally fraudulent view, and it is not treated that way in this book, neither by the character nor by the author. No reviewer thought to say that. Now, maybe they or their editors thought that's self-evident. I don't know. anyway, this is not going to have. I'm sure that was just an overenthusiastic pub sheet. I'm sure that it is. This is probably going to be just wonderful. So there you go. I tempted myself at a couple of points there, but lighting issues notwithstanding, Boris barking notwithstanding, Frida acting up notwithstanding, sirens, people screaming, cries for help, knocks on the door. We got through. I got through this video. It's possible that I will not make any more videos, not just today, but ever. It's possible that I won't. I'll try to walk this out. But I did this. Nearly 40 takes, but I did this. A very simple thing. So we have How Writing Made Us Human, which is the subtitle of the book. Keep in mind, like the Grappando book, this book has a different title somewhere in the first 2 chapters. Then we have Disorderly Men, a novel about 3 different men right on the cusp of when you couldn't say you were gay, and what does the Stonewall riots do to them. A very interesting premise. Most of the things here have interesting premises. We have Goodbye Girl. A pop star tells her followers to pirate her music. What's going to happen there? Is the slimy producer, what was his name? Tricky? Shaky. Is he going to end up dead? And her the main suspect? Then we have The Handover, which, again, has an interesting premise. The follow-through is nonsense. Corporations are not robots. But unless everything is a robot, unless we're just going to go full philosophy and anything that we say about anything is true, because this is all a gigantic leather arm patch, guys with beards, ostentatious mug, overdressed for the weather, dude bro thing, where since it's language, we can just say anything we want. If it's not that, then the premise about giant corporations taking, not so much AI, but giant corporations having state-level power, that is very interesting and absolutely true and terrifying. Because you make war on a state, but not on a corporation. That is interesting. We'll have to see in November how far the author goes towards this, AI has been with us for 300 years business. And then this, Tales of the Unreal. Occurs to me that I might be talking to the way to answer my questions. If you are the person responsible for sending this to me, feel free to sing out in the comments or email me. I have lost the thread. I have lost the provenance of why I'm getting this, and I would love to know. It's a professional product that you're doing here. So there you go. See, I put these down on the fainting couch, and they sloped to want to fall onto the floor and hit my dog and maybe cause a medical problem. I had to stop them at the last minute, but I succeeded. Nothing happened to stop this. The painting didn't fall down. This painting didn't fall down. The light wasn't suddenly catastrophic. There were no emergencies, no knocks on the door, no sirens, no nothing. So I did it. There you go. Very small victory. It's just a normal new arrivals video, but it's done. The revenge would be if there's no audio. I will check. I will play it, but at this point, I am kind of past caring. So we will see. I may see you again. I may make videos on this channel again. So I'm going to wrap this up for now, and maybe I'll see you soon. Thank you.